to order. The first item on the agenda under public works and maintenance is walking path policies and procedures.
This policy, what we're looking for is a motion to approve this policy. We believe this is a nice solid plan in place, which also gives the opportunity for a public hearing so that people know what's going on in the area. I think this was very well done. This was utilizing the one that we had brought forward from another municipality, plus adding our own touch. So I would be looking for a resolution to approve this.
Okay, discussion?
I had a question about the maintenance policy and procedure talked about primary and secondary paths, but then the evaluation and process, not the policy, but the procedure, sorry, I just gotta pop it up here, spoke to walking paths and easements. It spoke to two different types of rights of way, and so maybe I'm just not, I guess I looked down and like, oh, is that meant to be the primary and secondary? Are those primary and secondary ones then, or is there a primary and secondary within each of those?
I would think that would be your primary and secondary. We can make those changes.
And I don't know if that needs to happen, when I was flipping through it.
We're talking about walking path easement, yet we're talking about primary and secondary in the other.
So in the,
So
Yeah.
to just make
Yeah,
it
yeah,
the same.
and that's fine.
Yeah, so use the primary and secondary. And then there was actually one other thing.
the other thing that I saw was that on page 2 of 3 in that same document where it says walking path and easement, under closure process, the third paragraph says at least one property owner, adjacent property owner must be willing to purchase the land. And then at the bottom of the page, it says, if a walking path meets the guidelines above, but none of the adjacent property owners are willing to purchase the path, and there'll be a 3-year wait period, but you wouldn't have even started the process if one of the property owners wasn't willing to purchase it in the first place.
Fair enough.
So, either one or the other, right?
Consistency, yep.
So just one comment about that, just because I remember from reading the other municipalities one, I think the reason that they had that in there is like if they went through the process and then at the end of the day, the guys don't fork over the money for the property, right? Because you can go through the hearing and do all of that, but they haven't paid for it yet. So what would you do in the case that you went through all of that process and then at the end of the day, the person who said they were gonna buy it doesn't buy it, right? Because you're not signing a purchase agreement with anybody.
No, that's a very
Yeah.
fair point. As I read through the document, that didn't ring clear to me when I got to the bottom portion that was kind of really what that was referencing. That if at the start of the process, somebody was like, yeah, I'll buy it for sure, and then at the end of the process, they're like, okay, give us your cash, and they're like, never mind, I don't want to do that.
Maybe we can provide that as some clarity, add on to.
Yeah, maybe just add some clarity there. I mean, as it read, to me, that wasn't clear, but that's a really good point.
And there was one thing, in the same document Andrew's talking about under closure process, it says the application fees shall be $500, but then if you go to the actual application, it says $250 at the bottom. So I guess just would be to which one is going to be the application fee.
Okay, those changes will be made.
Any other discussion?
At the very top of the page, it says, "He town of the paw." It says, "He town of the paw" instead of "the town of the paw."
On which one?
On that same
Top
one
of
that we're
the
looking at.
procedure.
Oh, the pop procedure.
We lost a capital T.
Got a little spell check.
I know,
Doesn't feel
right?
better, right?
He's a word.
He is definitely a word.
Is it the same, right? Okay, we will move along if everybody's good with
Am I
that.
bringing that back, once the changes are made, or a resolution?
So are we bringing that forward for resolution with the changes?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
so.
think so.
You don't want to see it again before a resolution, okay?
No,
Well,
we can talk, we can maybe bring it forward again at the next committee of the whole, if we are looking
What?
for other changes, right?
No.
There's just more clarification of if
Yeah.
anything, it's not like we're changing the meaning of anything.
Yeah.
So that's why we would just as soon bring a motion and
Yeah.
get it done, so we don't have to see it again until we actually have to use it.
It's gonna be a buy, is it gonna be a buy, not a buy?
Well,
What's,
see.
how does
yeah.
this relate to, I mean, this all arose because we had a group come forward and, looking to address a walking path issue. How do we, so they've come forward, they've initiated an issue, how are we navigating that? I mean, are we gonna now say, okay, give us $500 and we'll start collecting data?
I think we had
or-
kind of talked amongst ourselves, and even Sam too, is because this is a new procedure, maybe we would look at excusing some of the costs.
Yeah, that would
Like
be,
maybe the application fee, but the actual costs, no. I don't believe that would be at our expense.
yeah,
application.
no, and they had even said that as far as the closing goes, they weren't
Right,
interested,
yeah.
and, they were fine with that. I was wondering more about the fee that's associated with the application of the process.
There will be some work involved, I think maybe we can do a little bit of a fee, but do it as a percent, like, even if it's
Well,
a
we'll give
50
them,
go out.
we'll give them credit for having raised the issue and caused this
Yeah.
policy to come out. So,
Because we know it's gonna happen again and again, right?
sure,
So
no, it makes sense to have the
it's-
fee in there, I just wanna make sure that as it relates to the group that brought this issue to our table,
We would look at a reduce.
yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, septic truck dumping in Lagoon, Councillor Gibb.
So I think we should review our fee structures for the lagoon, I mean, across the board, but certainly for non-residents, so it falls in line with other municipalities in our region.
But you guys kind of did when you passed your first reading. Right now, what we're doing is we're waiting for Public Utilities Board to send that back.
Okay.
Then we have a set fee. So as soon as we have our readings, second and third reading,
Okay.
we give her.
When is that gonna be? I'm just,
It's up to them.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it would be like within the next month, but it all depends what their Christmas season stuff will be.
Yeah.
So that's basically what that is that'll be our moving forward, because we have the fees set up. I noticed you did make reference to Swan
Swan
Rivers,
Rivers, yeah.
and the big difference there is our water is, theirs is pretty in line with each other, ours isn't.
Yeah.
Our water is way more. So, but no, as soon as we
But
get the final.
I guess the underlying reason is that if we're considering debenturing a significant amount of money, we should be ensuring that we're not giving discounts to people that live outside the municipality. So I don't know how, what's with our lagoon in town as opposed to, what do they use at the lake at the airport, right? So we need to make sure our costs are in line, because otherwise we're encouraging everyone to live outside the town borders and we're paying for them to do that. And that's an ongoing issue, I mean, we have, whether it's rec fees or what have you.
See, and that's kind of two separate issues
Yeah.
you'd have to deal with, because a lot of it becomes capital. Like, that's, I think where you're getting at is, everybody else needs to play a part of that. This is actual usage, when you're talking about the fees, that would be the actual usage in accordance with your bylaw.
Right.
So the additional would have to be an agreement, just like we do for cemetery or anything else with the outside parties.
Right.
So that would be a
Well,
secondary.
why would it be, if you look at Swans, it's in their public utility board listing, right? It says non-resident and what the fee is. So why wouldn't, that's what I guess what I'm getting at, why does ours have to be separate, like, what,
Because every time you'd be changing it, you'd be changing your bylaws, your public utilities, and you'd be going back to public utilities board. If you stick it in one.
So
Right, but what I'm
now-
saying-
right-
go ahead.
Sorry, just so we're clear, truck dump fees right now are exclusive of the water and sewer utility charges.
Yep.
So that's one element that's different. For
Right.
Swan, it's all inclusive. That enables us, if we need to change fees associated with truck dump at the lagoon, to adjust those to any kind of fee for service that we
Yeah,
need to.
but now you're gonna have something in here that's saying, here's what our fees are for dumping in our lagoon. And maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying. What you're saying is, we need to have a little more of that to make sure that it's not the town paying for all these big expenditures. That would be a separate agreement, because you do not want that to go under pub. Because every time you would make any changes
You
to
gotta go
that
back to
lagoon,
pub
you
to
would
do it.
have to go
Right.
back.
But what I'm saying though is that we should, if you look at their fees, there's quite a bit difference probably what they charge non-residents, right? So
Correct.
are ours in line with them and with other municipalities like Thompson or Flin Flon?
I think ours
or
would
Duff?
probably be more because of the issues that we have.
Right, or could we check that just so we're sure?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, any other discussion?
I just have a question on that. So, like the sewage, like, okay, say, okay, I live in the RM or, and then live at the lake, so wouldn't that go through, like, it's a private person
Yeah.
that picks it up.
Mhm.
So he would have to charge,
That's who
right?
gets the bill.
That's correct.
Okay, okay, no, I'm just,
One other, sorry, before we
He
leave the
has to
public
place
utilities
it.
thing, one other question is that when we submit rates to the Public Utilities Board for water and sewer, it includes a forecast of capital expenditures, is it not? And so it's not just based on the operational costs of running the lagoon, it's based on some kind of allocation of reserves for replacement and
Yeah.
future expenditures related to capital, not just operational
That's why
expenses.
they encourage you to make sure that you have your rates should cover anything that could come up, right? And to look at any kind of upgrades in the near future, and we're quite behind the eight ball. And because we can't afford to really repair all our infrastructure, that's why they've been very generous with letting us have the rates so that we have an action plan. So that in so many years' time, we can be where we're supposed to be.
Good.
So we'll move on to planning and development. Item 3.1, Centennial Drive North, Manitoba Housing Draft Secondary Development.
So, I don't know if you've seen the emails going around, but they're gonna be holding an open house right shortly. Our concern, in my opinion, remains the same, is this is a great plan, it's nice to see someone moving forward with a plan. However, our infrastructure needs to change in order to accommodate something like this. I don't know how many members went to the last, to the first phase, and it was very well done, very well presented, very good idea. Again, our only concern would be infrastructure. Till that's in place, we're kind of, and obviously, this is gonna have to be amendments to our zoning bylaws when the time comes. So I have
because
no
you can't
major
close,
concerns with
because
it.
you can't close the bridge off, and they can't go through, they can't go down Fisher, right?
We're talking about the secondary road.
Oh, jeez. Sorry, I'm having a.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So
That's on the
the-
next one.
So but I mean, the reality is that even though, I mean, they're just getting, going through all the steps that they need to be at a point where if our infrastructure is able to support, or when our infrastructure is able to support, and if they decide to develop,
It's
all
ready
of
to
the
go.
planning is in place, and there's no need for any further plans.
It's very
for
well done.
development. Yeah.
Any other discussion? No? All right, moving along, finance and administration, 4.1, opportunity to remove appropriation funds, that's great.
So, because this is a change in the original routes that I'm able to approve, that's why I come to council. I have a bit of a concern with this, the way it is, for the simple fact we're gonna be closing off a lot of our main street. Before, we could have easily said go down LaRose Avenue, but LaRose Avenue is really under construction. So to send secondary traffic down LaRose in the shape it's in, I would not recommend it. Council either has the option of approving it as is, or maybe asking them to change it, because if you're looking, it'll be tying up all across the bridge, down onto Edwards here, then down by, what do you call it, down by the Legion, you're going back onto our main roads again. So if, depending how long this is gonna be, you're gonna be tying up our whole main area of town. Normally, we'd be able to push them down LaRose, but LaRose is in some rough shape for bigger, heavier traffic.
It can
Just-
still go down Edwards, right, as off traffic in some of the.
Yeah, you can go down some of Edwards, but it's Fisher and the main highway that's gonna be closed at night.
What route does our Canada Day parade take? It comes down 7th and on to Fisher, doesn't
Yeah,
it,
it
for a period
doesn't
of
get,
time?
yeah, it starts at the.
You use
Legion
LaRose though, as your
Or
secondary.
the arena.
Oh, I see, gotcha.
That's my only
For the-
concern
for the-
with this.
For the through truck traffic. Gotcha.
It's
How-
usually a short parade because it's cold out, and, I mean,
I don't know, I was on this route at the last Santa Claus parade, it wasn't very short.
It wasn't very short. Wasn't very warm either.
No, it was really cold. But as an aside, yeah, I see what you're getting at, Randy,
I
is
mean,
that
like-
if there's trucks coming.
short as in, there's not like, it's not the
Oh,
Canada
as
Day
in-
parade as
gotcha.
in like
As in
50
it's not a
floats or
mile long,
anything like
or 2
that.
miles
It's
long.
usually,
Yeah.
you know, if they're gonna be holding up traffic in one spot, I think it's gonna be minimal, and I mean.
But it'll be two spots, it'll be, you're holding it up there, by the time they're coming through, you're gonna be holding it up
I
over
get
there
it.
too.
How's it different from last year?
You use LaRose, LaRose was easier to go off of.
Last year,
The other traffic could use the roads to get
Right.
around the
Right,
parade.
so that's the only,
That's the hook.
And if
Yeah,
you've
'cause I
gone
keep
down
thinking
LaRose
of-
lately, it's not
Sure.
exactly favorable for, yeah.
I think it's a great idea too, like I really like the idea about going over the bridge. I really do, but maybe for next year. it's-
Well, the bridge, we have nothing to do with, that's.
Yeah,
That's not our control.
Yeah.
So it's either amend it as we see fit or approve it as you guys see it.
I don't think, personally, I don't think it's gonna be that detrimental to the traffic or anything like that. Like Winnipeg shuts down their main street.
You know, the only, I mean, my thought is, give CKP a heads up. I mean, they're the guys that have got 100 trucks a day coming in, right? So if this is on Saturday, they might not be hauling on Saturday.
Friday.
So
It's a Friday.
Friday night.
It's a Friday evening.
It's at night, Friday at 6.
So, I mean, yeah, not, for as much as that may be inconvenient for a few vehicles or a number of vehicles for 20 minutes or 30 minutes to wait. I spent longer on the weekend in Winnipeg, sitting in a parking lot just trying to get out. So, I mean, maybe the courtesy call to CKP, so they're aware of it, so they can notify the contractors that are hauling and stuff, or any other groups that are, you know, got major truck traffic going on or something, but Crystal's right, it's not a very long parade in terms of its actual length.
Or we can let them know, post it around that here's,
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do advertise
yeah,
fairly
so
well.
maybe I'll say, this is part of your conditions, is you have to let some of these guys know
Yeah,
what's
sure,
going on.
those, yeah, it could be just as easy.
And we'll also need to let them know we need the permission before the resolution, because it's gonna be so quick.
Yeah.
So,
We're okay with sending them a letter saying that their route is approved before the next council meeting, being that like the next council meeting is a couple of days before the parade.
I tell them, subject to them notifying, having the leading trail and
Yeah.
detour and whatever.
Okay.
There's a lot of big trucks going by.
they're-
Lots, yeah.
They're moving wood.
Okay, moving along, item 4.2, museum board, request to meet with council.
So this is to discuss some of the operating deficits from last year and some of the other financial situation with the town. Are you wanting this during a regular council meeting or a committee of the whole meeting? Or do you want to meet at a lunch hour meeting or an evening meeting? We need to pick a date to that.
I would invite them to come to committee of the whole meeting.
Yeah. Given the challenges of getting everyone together on an
Yeah.
off time.
Yeah.
Okay. So next committee of the whole?
Yeah, I agree.
Item 4.3, Christmas towers along the center and arena.
We do this every year, we're trying to give as much notice as possible. The bonus on this is we do save some money because it's weekend staff that are part-time. So we're asking to close the facilities. We're not getting cost recovery, not many people use the facilities during those days, but we need a resolution to close the facilities.
Does anybody have an issue with that?
No issue.
All right, resolution moving forward. 4.4, December meetings.
December council meetings, well, it falls where it would be the 11th and the 25th. I don't know about you, I don't want to be here on the 25th. So we usually only have one meeting. Our meeting is going to be, or scheduled for the 11th, or if council wishes, we could leave it at that, or we can move it to the following week, being the 18th.
I'm inclined to move it to the, mostly because I'm not here, the 11th, but I just think that it'll play a little bit nicer for,
Just to move it
yeah.
to be a little more in
Yeah,
sync.
exactly. Does anybody have a problem with moving the council meeting to the 18th?
My only thought about that is that, like, for a group like the library who's working on their budget, which is, you know, right after Christmas, we're gonna be wanting them to produce stuff for us, and they wanna come and talk to us, and if we wait till the 18th, it's another week. It's another chink in the schedule for them, right? So, for as much as between the December the 11th and January, what would that be, 9th or 10th or something like that, before we have our next meeting, that's a bit of a long stretch, but.
I'm okay with the 11th. Move my date to first.
You said you're away?
Yeah, I'm away, but, I mean, whatever, I don't have to be here, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm more inclined to do it on the 11th so that, you know, whatever issues are coming forward, people have a chance to actually deal with some of it in front of Christmas, as opposed to if they get it on the 18th and, you know, they get feedback, not much time in front of the end of the week or whatever, for staff even to deal with the remainder of the meeting. If we have it on the 11th, you're not facing the wind up. I mean, I would like to see it stick. I don't really care, but I like the 11th. I mean, that seems more scheduled. Not easy, I can do the 18th.
So we voting?
Yes, let's vote. Hands up for the 11th. Hands up for the 18th.
I don't care.
Let's go again.
I have abstained.
Whether you can make it or
Are you
not.
here?
I'm not even here. I'm not here both. Doesn't matter.
So
That's not even here
basically,
right now.
that we cancel the.
But I'll pretend I
23rd.
was.
Yeah, the 25th would be
Yeah.
canceled, of course, sir.
So we are canceling the 25th?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You can come and do it all on your own. It's that we cancel the second meeting because our bylaw says that we have 2 meetings every, I know.
Item number 4.5, payroll and accounts.
We would require a resolution for pay period 23 in the amount of $108,211.90, general checks in the amount of $328,854.71, and EFTs of $75,994, for a total of $513,060.61. Part of the larger expenses was the Environmental Act proposal of $46,000, assessment services levy of $73,000, and the crosswalk repair of $85,000.
Any questions or comments?
Does that help you guys when I point out that there's some of those bigger expenditures?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
4.6, unsightly property, 202 Edwards Avenue, Councilor Gibbs.
So we have bylaw 4506,
Mhm.
so I couldn't be here Friday, but how do we start applying that to some of these properties?
In this particular property, I would recommend that you let staff, or the council let staff continue with the avenue we've chosen, and that's trying to work together with the insurance company and the applicant. For the simple fact, if this is gonna be an insurance one, we're gonna go through this process, we're gonna end up paying for the demolition on our own, we're gonna end up stuck with a tax sale property, so this is gonna be a $70,000 touch. That's why I would like to do our best to work with the insurance company and the owner to get this dealt with.
I think we should be applying fees, so the insurance company has something. If you have first charge, then,
I've already notified them
Yeah,
that there's
so-
outstanding stuff on it.
right, I just start running it up.
And then when you run it up, is the town willing to pay that bill for them,
For what?
if it goes into tax sale? That's where
But I guess
concern with
I have a
this.
concern that as a town, we're gonna let this go on, like come summertime, that building's still gonna be there, right?
It's a possibility, yeah.
Right, like, and that's, to me, that's, I mean, a couple thousand cars go, how many, we have huge traffic counts that get seen every day, it's unsafe, it's not even board, like, there's people living in their garage in the back. And if we know we have first charge with the insurance company, then we should take full advantage of that.
Where
That's
are
my-
we- I mean, can we get an update on where it's at? I mean, you guys have met, but I have no idea where.
Basically what it at, and that's where I would like, and I would ask
Mm-hmm.
respectfully to let us continue on this, and if we don't get anywhere, for sure, let's follow. Once you open that can of worms, there's no backing out of that, so you're gonna have to carry it right full to the end. That's why I'm saying I would like a little bit more time that we continue working with the insurance company and the owner to look at demolishing the building. And what Alan's talking about is maybe get the process going so that the money goes towards the building, like added onto taxes.
Yep.
And then it
I
was
understand.
brought to my attention that we have first right if there's outstanding taxes. I have been in contact with the insurance company and they're aware that there's,
I guess my
There's
question
issues with
was,
property.
where, exclusive to that issue, where is that building at in terms of coming down? I mean, so the owner and yourselves and the insurance.
there's still issues between the owner signing off, which is their personal business, I can't get into
Yeah, and
that,
I get that that's.
with the owner and the insurance company.
So, I mean, I guess from my perspective, I mean, Alan has a valid point, which obviously you're not unaware, the fact that that's a safety issue and whatever. Do we need to, pick a date and say, look, if there's no action by such and such, this stuff's coming? I get maybe it's a little early to do that, and my sense
That's
is you
kind of
don't
why
want to
I'm
do that yet,
asking to
but I
let
mean,
us continue with.
I
what
guess on
we're
our
doing.
end, I mean, if we're not working the problem and we're not supposed to, you guys are, and that's great, but, it hasn't really been an agenda topic up to this point in time, so. I mean,
Because
maybe,
technically it was our admin jobs
Yeah,
to do,
so-
which I believe we were doing.
And I'm sure, I know that you are, and I'm not suggesting you're not. It just might be worthwhile, I guess, as a follow-up, that maybe we can see it's an update
Yep.
in
Yeah, so-
January on where it's at.
Let's table it for a
Yeah.
follow-up, even
Yeah.
at the next meeting in December.
Not a problem.
If there's not a lot of leeway, then maybe have a conversation then about setting some deadlines and
Well, and
don't
maybe-
necessarily need to be relayed to
And we
the
did pretty
person,
much
but
say
for
that,
us,
this is
right?
probably not a conversation we should be having in public about someone's personal insurance, that's why I'm not exactly excited about having that conversation.
For sure. All right, next item, 4.7, 2018 interim budget.
Do this one every year so that we can spend money in the new year up until our passing of our budget. So you're looking at general government services in 1.879, Protective Services, and 2.8 Transportation, and 2.2 Environmental Services, 423,000. Recreation and Culture, 1.2, and Fiscal Services for 718 for a total of 9.257 million.
Oh, right.
Anybody have any issues with that?
And this pretty much gets us through to June if need be.
Okay, the resolution will be coming forward. Can I have a motion to move us into camera, please?
Oh, no, I don't need to.
You know what, I'm already having a bad day.
Move
I need to
that
go home
we
to
do
bed.
now resolve that we move in camera with Councillor Cross in the chair to discuss matters of importance.